Hello, my friends. So, I am still spending a lot of time in class sewing knots for people, so I figure it was about time that I made a couple of videos on how to tie knots. In this first video, we will learn how to begin sewing with a new piece of thread. So, maybe you're just beginning your project. Maybe you ran out of thread and need to add in a new piece. Maybe you're changing colors of thread, but for whatever reason, you've got a nice new piece of thread with no knot in the end. Now I'm going to start off by showing you a secret trick that I haven't shown you in class because it requires some practice and can be a little bit frustrating. You don't actually need a knot when you begin sewing, especially in fabric like felt, which is a little bit thicker and a little bit grippier. So this trick is called a backtack stitch. So you're going to start, I'm holding two pieces of fabric here as though I'm going to sew them together. You're going to start by putting the needle in between the two pieces of fabric and coming out the front. When you pull it through, you need to make sure to leave a tail hanging there. And this is the part that is tricky and makes it frustrating because it's really easy. You guys know it's easy to just pull that tail right through and the whole thread just falls right out. So make super sure to leave that tail there and don't tug it through. You're going to take a little stitch and make sure not to pull that tail through. And you're going to go up through the fabric pretty much in the same place. It doesn't need to be exactly the same place, but try to get it as close as you can. You're going to bring it up. Now at this point, if you tug on it, that tail will still fall straight out. So don't do it. Pull very tight, very carefully, very lightly to tighten that up, and put the needle through one more time. If you're sewing through two pieces of fabric, this is the point where you can sew through both of them. And give it a tug, and you see it doesn't fall out. Magic! The magic of the backtack stitch. You can tuck that tail in and hide it, and then go on sewing. That is how you begin with a new piece of thread if you do not want to tie a knot. Now, if you prefer to have a knot, if you're having trouble making that little tail stay where it belongs, then this is the next knot. I'm pretty sure you all know how to tie that basic little overhand knot where you make the loop and tuck the tail through, and it ends up looking something like a pretzel. That makes a perfectly fine knot, but it's going to be a little bit on the small side, and with some fabrics it's going to fall right through the fabric just as though there were no knot at all. So to keep that from happening, what you're going to do is you're going to take that tail and tuck it through a couple more times, the same direction. Wrap it around and tuck it through. Until you have something that looks, instead of a pretzel, it looks like a nice little holiday wreath. And then you pinch the thread and pull it toward that little holiday wreath and slide it until it all gathers up into a nice big knot there. And that's not going to fall through any fabric. If the mess hanging off this end bothers you, it's perfectly safe to give it a little trim, but there's not really any need because most of the time you're going to be hiding it inside your project anyway. You should come through between the two pieces of fabric, and that knot gets hidden in between. So that is the next most basic knot. Now, my handy dandy, super fast knot is basically a version of that. This is tricky. It takes some practice, but once you get it down, it is the fastest way to make a nice, big, reliable knot. You're going to pinch the tail of the thread between your thumb and forefinger and wrap it once, twice, not too tight because it's going to need to roll off your finger easily. You're going to pinch all three of those strands and you're going to roll them between your thumb and forefinger to make that same nice holiday wreath that we had earlier, but much faster. And then pinch the thread and pull down toward the end, and you have a gigantic knot. So pinch, wrap once, twice, pinch, and roll, and that twists the thread together into that nice little wreath. Then pinch and pull, and there you have your knot.